Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Connor Gray and Andrew Santangelo, and as always, thank you for watching. If you hopefully enjoy what you're going to hear and see tonight, feel free to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment below, all those great things. We do want to hear what you have to say about what happened because, folks, it was a weird wild card weekend. Let's put it like that. We had a whole lot going on. But as always, the most important question of the day. Fellas, how's it going?
Been going pretty good. Has enjoyed the 3-day weekend of NFL football and really good stuff. Really can't deny. And obviously today been very tired. Been up since about 6:30.
Yeah, no, doing very well. Feels good to be back. It's been a while, so ready for another semester here. But, Kate, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's like you said, Connor, 3-day weekend is always nice. Got some NFL in, got some college basketball in. OU managed to get a wire-to-wire victory. I'd put that in quotation marks because that should not have happened. But, hey, I'd like to thank West Virginia for the worst end-of-game play I've ever seen in my life. So thank you for that. But
I mean, they are really the worst team in the Big 12.
technically. But getting into more important things than OU shenanigans, the NFL. Wild card weekend, super wild card weekend, in fact. A lot of games, all 6 of them. We're going to break down every single one, but let's get started with what I guess you could say was the most boring one for a half, most intriguing one for a half. Seattle and San Francisco getting everything started all the way back on Saturday afternoon. Seattle comes in, they get down 10-0, a great second quarter for the Seahawks. They have a 17-16 lead at halftime. But eventually the Niners just wake up and roll them over, 41-23, San Francisco getting the win there.
Yeah, pretty much that. For Seattle seemed, for the most part of that first half, seemed to have figured out San Francisco's defense, able to prevent the Niners from really doing any damage offensively, and looked like we could see Seattle doing something. I mean, they had the lead to end the half, and then the 49ers woke up. Brock Purdy played a better second half, and defense was able to get it together, and Niners just put together a solid half of football and able to take care of business.
Yeah, this game changed in the third quarter on the Geno Smith turnover. This game would have been different if he doesn't turn that ball over. Third quarter starts just the way that the second half ended. Seahawks are going straight down the field. If they get a touchdown there to start the half on their first possession, I think you're looking at a different game. Not saying they would have won, but I think it would have been consistently close. But after that turnover, I think that kind of startled Seattle in itself, and they never recovered from that. So I think that was the go-to play, turning point of the game here for San Francisco. Outside of that, I think it would have been down to the wire, just like most of the other games this weekend. But no, credit to Seattle for that first half. And then, how about Brock Purdy? I don't think no one expected this from him. He's already got just as many touchdowns in one playoff game as Jimmy Garoppolo had all in that playoff run. So I thought that was kind of a funny stat. And then, you know what, I'm blanking on who it is, but credit to San Francisco's front office for going out and getting Christian McCaffrey, because I don't think they're able to get this far with all the injuries they've had if they don't pick up McCaffrey there. So credit there to San Francisco from that end. And you're seeing everything click here, and that's what you want from a team this late in the season, obviously.
Very much so. I mean, McCarthy has been a huge asset for 49ers. I mean, like you said, I don't know how. Well, I don't know if they would have even had. They probably would have only had maybe the 4 seed if they didn't get them, if they're lucky.
Yeah, they probably survive and win that division. So I'd probably say 4 around the. Well, Tampa Bay was pretty bad. So
all knows Brock Purdy is now. I know after his first game, he's pretty much considered the best Mr. Irrelevant of all time.
You
but
could
it's
say
all but confirmed it.
You could say he's pretty good. But yeah, big game again for Christian McCaffrey, like y'all mentioned. Deebo Samuel, 6 catches, 133 to touchdown. And Brock Purdy just keeps on going, 18 for 30, 332, and 3 TDs. He just keeps doing it. That's how the Niners are, though. You can just plug and play whoever you want at quarterback in right there. Don't have to do too much when you got a whole lot of weapons to work with, but that's just the way they like it.
I will say before we move on, this might be something we might end up talking much later down the road, but what do you do about your quarterback situation? Because you have Trey Lance and Garoppolo, and Purdy has been doing very good for the Niners. So What do you do about that?
We're going to do the meme I saw yesterday. Future Jet Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay, Garoppolo is one of those ones that's always on the trade block, possibly on a trade block. But the problem is that you set this offense to mainly center around Trey Lance, especially you picked him was it like 2 or 3 they picked him up at in the draft?
It was pretty high. I don't remember exactly.
I know it was top 3. But but the issue you run into is Purdy has run the show and has not lost a game and has played very well throughout his entire time. So the question is, what do you do about it? That was just a question that popped up during the game, was because Purdy was still playing well like he has been. So it's like, what do you do about that quarterback situation? So it's just something I just kind of was going through my head.
I think you have to turn the keys to Brock. I've never been a Garoppolo guy. I mean, I think he was already on his way out in the last offseason that we all thought he was going to be traded. And listen, Trey Lance, in the few games, I know it was only a few games he's played, he didn't show anything that really was like, wow, he's going to be our quarterback for the next 10 years. He's obviously had injury history as well, so that's something you got to keep in mind. So his trade value is going to be higher now than it will be. And here's the thing, you're going to be able to trade him and get some good picks. So if it doesn't work out at Brock, you'll be able to, I think, quickly get back out there from the trade package you're going to get from Lance. So if I'm San Francisco, I think that's the road you go. If I was the GM, but in all honesty, I think they'll probably stick with Trey and have Brock as the backup going into next year. But we'll see what would happen.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. But, I mean, for Purdy, the run he's going on, just keep on winning. It's simple as that. Mm-hmm. And keep on winning is kind of the motto of what the Jags have been doing, able to just keep running through whatever obstacle they need. They needed to claw their way back in to even just win the AFC South. They find themselves in a 27-0 hole against the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence throws 4 picks in the first half, 4 touchdowns in the second half. In an all-time comeback that can only be rivaled by, well, the Colts-Vikings game we had earlier this year, one of the biggest playoff comebacks as well. And, I mean, my goodness, this was a meltdown to watch in action. The Chargers had no reason to blow this game, but you just kind of had that feeling once Jacksonville got a little bit of momentum at halftime. They got that touchdown. They go down the field, score again. You start holding L.A. to field goals, and then Dicker the kicker misses one, and the floodgates open, and here comes Jacksonville.
And major thing is just a lot of dumb, stupid things the Chargers just kept doing throughout the game. I did not understand, especially Bosa just making some dumb decisions, and obviously the very, very conservative play calling by the Chargers when it's like you're up 20, step on their throat. Instead, they just kept being conservative. Now, for credit, Jaguars were playing a lot better overall as a team in that second half, and obviously the offense turned it around. Obviously, Trevor getting 4 touchdowns to match those 4 interceptions he had in the first half. But this is just something that there's just no excuse for the Chargers blowing a 27-point lead, even though I've seen them blow games several times before. It's usually like within a smaller margin near the end. But this is, I don't know. I really just kind of at a loss for words just talking about this.
Well, I think the chart's the biggest thing here. If you want to look at the ESPN win probability, Chargers have a 93% chance to win the game, even midway through the fourth. They have their one last glimmer of hope here with about a minute 30 to go when they're up by 2, and then the Jags just run away with it in that final minute 30. But, I mean, give credit to Jacksonville as well. Doug Peterson getting some fun play calls in, I guess, the best one. The one that's always going to stick out to me, Bosa gets the unsportsmanlike, why not go for 2? Trevor Lawrence is 6'6", just QB sneak it. Yeah. Make it a 2-point game instead of a 3-point game and go for the win.
Mm-hmm. No, without question. I do disagree. I think they were still way too aggressive. I would have liked to see the Chargers go a little more conservative. I think they stayed way too aggressive, and that's what cost them the game. I mean, you're going to tell me their quarterback and Justin Herbert threw 43 times in a game. You're up 27-0. Austin Eckler, anyone who knows me, I'm a big stats guy. He had 10 carries at halftime. 10 carries. Your starting running back finishes the game with 13 carries in a game you're up 27-0. That means he ran the ball 3 times in that second half. you were winning the game 20. Like, you got to keep the clock going.
Yeah.
And instead, you stayed aggressive. And you're throwing incomplete pass after incomplete pass, going 3 and out, and that's why they stayed in the game. Your possession time was not good there in the second half. If you're able to keep the clock moving a little bit, I was startled by that in the sense of how they weren't going anywhere in direction. And I think that allowed Jacksonville to continue to gain confidence there and come back. And like you said, Cade, credit to Jacksonville for this comeback. And, listen, I'm a big Doug Peterson fan, so I love to see this. I love that 4th and 1 play call. Everyone just expected I think most people expect just a quarterback sneak on that 4th and 1. You saw the way they lined up, and he goes to that outside run. And I don't know if you guys saw the video. He stole that from Penn State is the comparison I saw. Is where he got that play call from. But, credit to Doug Pearson. He's creative. You saw him do it in the Super Bowl, and he just continues. He's going to live and die by these gutsy play calls.
ETN with 20 carries for 109 yards. You mentioned it, Andrew. Eckler only 13 carries. You would think the team ahead would run the ball more, but, hey, you just let Jacksonville keep throwing it. Eventually, Trevor Lawrence is going to make a big play.
Well, and that's credit to Doug Pearson, too. You're down 27-0, and you don't give up on your game plan. Because you're going to see most coaches, I'm down, forget about the run game. But, no, credit to him. He stayed with it. We'll get into that game a little bit, but look at Tampa Bay. They fell a little bit behind, and I think their pass ratio, I think Brady threw the ball 50-plus times compared to –
He threw it 66.
66 times to, 10 or 12 runs. Talk about giving up on your game plan pretty quick.
I know we'll get to Tampa and Dallas later, but just for Brady, just on how they did it, Brady went 35-66 for 351 2Ds and an interception. That just shows how bad that run game is and how they just don't trust the run game. Well, their offensive coordinator didn't, but anyways, I'd say regardless of how things go, I'd probably be giving Doug Peterson Coach of the Year, how he managed to turn the worst team into a playoff contender. Well, able to get them in the playoffs and at least been able to get them past the divisional round. Then again, you also have the coach at the Giants that might also get it.
Yeah, I think Peterson's probably 4th or 5th on the list in that sense. I think you have I don't want to blank on his name. Giants coach.
Is it Nick Salavani?
No, the Eagles is Nick Sirianni. So I put him over Doug. The Giants, obviously, their turnaround.
Yeah.
I think they'd be up there. I think with San Francisco's injuries, I think you'd have to have them on the list there. It's tough, and that's what's tough about football compared to baseball, where you split it up and do one AL and NL award. Where football, you're just doing one straight.
Brian DeBall.
Yeah, that's it.
There we go.
I don't know why I got the Eagles coach and him mixed up.
But we all know Coach of the Year goes to Lovie Smith for getting the Bears the first pick. That's how that works. Tank master for 2 teams at the same time. Impressive. But either way, great game for Jacksonville. A magnificent comeback. And for the Chargers, just another year, another disaster to end the season. Just one day they'll catch a break. We all might be in the ground by then, but they'll catch a break one day.
Yeah.
And the next one, speaking of teams that almost had a similar situation, the Bills get up 17-0 on the Dolphins, and then a barrage of just offense ineptitude allows Miami to field goal their way back into this game, eventually getting a touchdown. Dolphins at one point go up 24-20 on a 5-yard scoop and score, and then the Bills wake back up, get into a battle still, of course, but a 34-31 win to send Buffalo on to the next round.
Yeah, just a wild game in itself. Both teams going back and forth. Credit to Miami. Nobody gave them a shot. And you got a guy like Skylar Thompson coming in, finding a way to keep them in the game, and that's what it takes. You had obviously a young guy going out there. He struggles to start, but once he found his rhythm, it was good to go. And I don't know if it was coaching. I don't know if it was Thompson. I don't know who to blame. But, man, if they were able to snap the ball, I think this game could have been way different. They have to use 3 or second-half timeouts on avoiding a delay game, and then in the biggest play of the game on 4th and 1, you get a delay game call as well, turning into 4th and 6. Obviously, your play calling becomes a whole lot different there. So, I don't know what was going on there. Again, I don't know maybe if it was communication trouble in the helmets. I don't know if it was too loud in Buffalo, which obviously is a possibility with a fan base like that. So, I don't know where the issue there stems from, but you saw issues throughout the first and second half, and then have to waste all 3 of your timeouts on that. and then cost you the game on a 4th and 6 play, or 4th and 1, 2 4th and 6. I really would have seen how that game plays out if you don't have those.
Yeah, I pretty much what kept Miami a bit in that game early on. Though I will say that second half they played with Buffalo for the most part. It was obviously the gaffes by Buffalo early on. I mean, you're up 17-0, and then proceed to obviously throw 2 interceptions, which eventually led to scores, and then obviously Miami taking advantage of other stuff. But props to Miami for playing with Buffalo and kind of exposing them. The fact that we could have seen Miami take out Buffalo would have been something, but didn't happen. So obviously Buffalo's moved on to the next round. They'll obviously play the Bengals.
Yeah, so it's one that Miami's defense was able to cause a lot of havoc. You have the one interception where it simply just bounces in and out of the hands of a Buffalo receiver. Miami defender snatches it and runs away with it. There's been some games this year that do not feel like they should be close. This felt like one of those games. Buffalo gets up 17-0. Everyone goes, okay, Miami's got a third-string quarterback in. Skylar Thompson's not going to be able to do anything. This is going to be over. But credit to Miami and what they've been able to do all season, battling through just about every injury possible you could deal with, especially with Tua. And then Teddy Bridgewater goes down. Then you've got Skylar Thompson coming in now. And like you said, Andrew, I don't know what their problem was in trying to figure out how to snap the ball, but it did cost them. It cost them how many times throughout the game? I mean, like you said, all 3 timeouts in the second half. I think 4 or 5 false starts or delay of games.
Well, you've never seen anything like it. Like I was like, especially a playoff game. Like maybe if you want to see the Houston Texans do it, maybe you see something like that. But in a playoff game at that stage, like you'll see 1 or 2 maybe, but like that much was bizarre to me. Like it was insane. It was an absolutely weird event. But the Bills moving on, and the next one, the Giants playing the Vikings. This was one that a lot of people were expecting this to go about the way it did. Minnesota gets into another tight game. Might have to come back and win this one. Tell me if you've heard that one before this season. But the Giants keep the pedal to the metal, and New York is moving on with a 31-24 win. Daniel Jones just balling out 301 through the air, 78 on the ground. It was one of those games that, most people said the Vikings will be in a close game. Don't be surprised if the Giants might be able to sneak away with one. And they did. I mean, this is another huge win for New York. It feels like they've got a reasonable shot now. I mean, they're playing with house money.
Yeah. I know I told you that this came before the show, but Ryan Clark said that Daniel Jones played like Josh Allen than Josh Allen in regards to overall just mainly consistent play by Daniel Jones, just not being too risky and just doing what he needed to do. I mean, guy can run when he needs to be able to, and he shows that when he's balling out, he can throw the football really well. And I will say that situation of not necessarily giving Saquon a lot of carries, but also having him out in the passing game has definitely really helped them on a lot of those scoring drives. So Giants just played overall much better. I'd say, even though people are going to blame Cousins for how bad, like why they lost. I mean, Cousins went 31 of 39, 273, and 2 TDs. He played overall really well. You can question that. Obviously, what happened at the very end, where they threw a 3-yard check down instead of trying to go for the first down, but not necessarily putting all that on Cousins. Just the Vikings just got behind and just could never really do much about it.
Yeah, no, I think if you look at Minnesota here, you got to blame the defense. The defense was really bad this game. You let Hodgson go for over 100 yards. You somehow let Daniel Jones rush for that many yards, 78. I think he had 60-something of those in the first half. I mean, Daniel Jones is no runner. There's no reason you should let him get close to 80 yards unless he's breaking away for one, which obviously happens here and there. But they were just rolling him out, and he was running 9-10 yards a carry almost at times. And you never see Daniel Jones do that. And I don't. That's where I was. Minnesota's adjustments in the game, and you didn't see that at all. Credit to the Giants. They kind of held Justin Jefferson in check there. For T.J. Hawkinson to be the leading receiver there, I mean, credit to the Giants. They said beat us with somebody else, and they weren't able to do that. And they stopped Dalvin Cook. They were able to slow him down, and I don't think you can blame Kirk Cousins. I mean, yeah, obviously he had one stupid play at the very end. It happened to be the last play of the game, so everyone's going to turn to look at that. But he played phenomenal throughout that game. He took care of the ball. He did what he had to do. And again, if you're asking him and you're putting up 24 points, you're expected to be most likely winning most of those games. But the defense, I get it wasn't great this year, but the defense – traditionally for Minnesota, they're going to win most games. They put up 24 points, and I think that's where they turn to in the offseason, getting that defense back. And, again, I don't know if this is on the coach, if it's on the players, but that last play, I mean, yeah, everyone's going to blame Kirk Cousins. And don't get me wrong, he shouldn't have made that throw. Obviously, you got to get that first down. But I think it was the Hawkinson. Correct if I'm wrong.
It was the Hawkinson.
But what are you doing? Like, why are you know you need to get 10 yards too. Why are you going 2 yards? Like, and if that's the play, someone's got to call him out and someone, or I don't know, derail from that play and go somewhere else because you know, and obviously, no offense to him, but if you're going to Justin Jefferson or somebody who's quick and might be able to break through and get, and maybe I can live with that. But you're going to your tight end there. He's not getting 8 yards like that when you got a guy right on him. So I question that. Whether it's the players, whether it's the coach, I don't know who it is there, like in terms of who's calling those plays, if it's the OC or if it's the head coach, or if it was just the route he ran off of blocks. I know sometimes they leave late off of blocks, so maybe that's what he decided. But how are you not sending everybody? And I'm all for, I think it was 4th and 9, correct if I'm wrong. But if you go 7-8 yards and you throw that, I can live with that too because you might bounce off a guy, you might fall forward and get that first down. But again, why are you going 2 or 3 yards? And again, to me, should Cousins have made that throw? No, but I got to question everybody else on, like, one, why are you going there? One, why are you calling a play where he's only going 2 or 3? So, I don't know, maybe I'm just defending Cousins because I always have thought he's an underrated quarterback. But it goes beyond just Cousins there. And overall in this game, I turned to the defense. But credit to the Giants. Well coached. They came out with the game plan. They got it out in that first quarter and got the lead, and they kind of just protected it from there.
Reason why I said that with Cousins is that people have a tendency to blame him for why everything goes wrong a lot of the time. Like, this year, he's played arguably his best season he's ever had, and he had a fantastic game. So, but you know how there's people who are still going to single him out when it's like, no, the whole team just did not do good enough to win, especially the defense just did not hold their own well against the Giants, who let Daniel Jones, like you said, run for almost 80 yards on him, and the fact that he had over 300 yards in the air, that's kind of a lot on that. But congrats to the Giants for moving on.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely too.
Yeah, that's why I was agreeing with you also.
And no, you're right. Like I saw it on Twitter. You got guys like, there you go, Cousins chokes again. I'm like, my opinion. What else did you want Cousins to do? Like, like he only missed eight passes. He threw for over 250 yards. Didn't throw an interception. I don't think he had a fumble.
Nope.
So he didn't turn the ball over. Like, there's, to me at least, nothing else he could have done.
There were no turnovers in the game.
So I don't think there's anything else he could have done.
I think it's one of those, you have enough players where they develop a reputation to where even if they do have a good game, that doesn't matter. Cousins could have probably thrown a perfect game here, but if he would have thrown a perfect, 8-yard route when you need 9, everyone was like, well, he should have thrown to Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson might have been triple covered for all we know.
He probably was.
Yeah, he more likely was.
Because the Giants did that, and that was something I was impressed with, is they did a great job just double covering the entire time, just making sure Jefferson could not go anywhere. And I think that was one of the main adjustments Minnesota simply couldn't break. And I think that's more a coaching thing than it is a Kirk Cousins thing. But at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, everyone's going to go look at that one play at the end of the game and somebody go, why did you throw on a 2-yard out route? What are you doing? This is why no one trusts you.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
They're not wrong there.
Yeah, that's how that story is going to go for Minnesota. I already heard it today. I was talking to people that said, well, we all knew Minnesota was frauds. We all knew it was going to happen. Yeah. It was only a matter of time. All it takes is that one moment. I've seen it before, and I mean, Minnesota sports fans, unfortunately, you know this feeling all too well. Any team they have, they love them to death, but the second they do something wrong, It's the Wild. It's the Timberwolves. It's the Vikings. Everyone but the Lynx, essentially.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think these two teams, and it's tough to obviously people look at records and everything, but if you look at it, these two teams are basically identical. You have two teams that have solid defenses. They have some of the best running backs in the league. They have mid-tier quarterbacks, probably, if you want to go there. And obviously, yeah, Vikings have the advantage of Justin Jefferson. But outside of that, they're almost identical outside that one receiver spot. And I think that's what you got here. You got two teams that I'm pretty sure is a pretty close game in the regular season, too, because I know they faced each other. So,
It was
I don't know. People, like you said, Cade, everyone's going to call them frauds, but in the end, they lost. I don't think Giants are that bad of a team. They lost to a solid team. It's not like they got blown out. If they got blown out, I think you could say that word, but they were in the game to the end, and it just went the wrong way. And they got beat by a team that's playing well, and, it happens.
It does. It's one of those that I think everyone was also waiting for the moment where they didn't get away with it. Yeah. When you have 11 comeback wins the entire year, everyone's going, okay, well, now this is going to be the team that stops them. And they finally did it the worst possible time. It sucks that it happened for them, but that's just how football is. You don't always get your way. And speaking of a team that knows that not everything goes their way, Baltimore, with all their quarterback injuries and everything they've been dealt with this season, still fighting to the bitter end with Cincinnati, but all it takes is Sam Hubbard stripping the ball from Huntley and going 98 yards the other way for a touchdown, and that is how Cincinnati moves on. A 24-17 win for the Bengals, and it sets up that Cincy-Buffalo game that we'll finally get to see, and hopefully nothing bad happens this time.
Yeah. I will say Baltimore played a lot better than what people were giving them credit for. I think a lot of people were pretty much had written Baltimore off as a team who was going to get lose maybe a couple touchdowns or whatever. Instead, they fought as hard as they could, but Bengals were able to obviously Hubbard was able to get the strip that he needed, and they took it all the way back for a touchdown. Really, it's with all the injuries that have happened to Baltimore on both sides of the ball, the fact that they were able to play with Cincinnati after, I think, the week prior, I think Cincy beat them up really badly.
They did. Baltimore had Anthony Brown in that game, though.
So, but I think, didn't Huntley also play hurt the whole game?
I think he played hurt for a while, but I know Anthony Brown came in at some point.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things where Baltimore played up to their competition. I believe Cincy, while overall still played well, I think kind of played down a little bit in some aspect, but Baltimore just played really well pretty much through good amount of that game. Just sadly just didn't work out for them, and Bengals now move on.
Yeah, I think Baltimore did play better than I think Cincinnati struggled. They didn't look that good. I'd be concerned going into that Buffalo game. Obviously, no easy opponent, but Buffalo's looked a lot better in a same kind of style game. You thought it was going to be a blowout. But, hey, all comes down to that one play on the goal line. He tries to stretch the ball over, just not far enough. I mean, talk about a game of inches. I mean, you look at it an inch a different way, and it's a touchdown, and who knows how it turns out. And I think it's unfortunate for Baltimore. Obviously, he had the tough fumble, but also I will live and die by this. I think Mark Andrews would have chased down Hubbard there if it wasn't for that block in the back. I really wish they would have made that call because I really would have changed the outcome. You're not guaranteed to get that touchdown the way Baltimore's defense was playing. Maybe they probably still get a field goal, but then Baltimore can answer with a field goal rather than having to go all the way down to the end zone. But that was a pivotal call. I'm surprised. It was pretty clear to me, at least. And I don't know how it wasn't. And it's a shame to kind of pick to that off a great play there where you force that fumble, pick it up. But, I mean, again, let's be real. If that doesn't happen, you're still at a tie game, and that's going to move them back. Obviously, Cincinnati still takes the ball. But I think you're talking about a different way it ends there, and who knows what happens. So I wish they would have made that call. And but in the end, you got to credit Cincinnati. They played through it. They got the job done. And it doesn't matter about looking the best at this point. All that matters is escaping with the win and surviving and advancing, and that's what Cincinnati did.
Yeah, it was one of those that I think it did help for Baltimore that they played them the week before. They were able to try some things out, essentially see what would work and what wouldn't. And you got to give the Ravens credit. Same with the Dolphins. This is a team that everyone expected to come in, get beaten up, and go home, and they went down swinging. And that's everything you could hope for the Ravens.
Absolutely.
And then the final game to get to, Dallas and Tampa Bay, the two teams that a lot of people don't like. So a lot of people are going to be happy either way how this one ended. Either Tom Brady loses or Dallas loses. And at the end of the day, Dak Prescott, 5 TDs and only 31 points because poor Brett Maher. Missing PAT after PAT after PAT. And he eventually made one, and everyone clapped for him. But 31-14 the final here. And, I mean, this is one where Dallas just came in and took care of business as usual. They finally beat Tampa Bay. They finally beat Tom Brady, and they won at a grass field, all things that have taken them a while to do this season.
And first road victory in over 30 years.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was 93.
Yep, when they played the Niners.
But for this one, it just kind of right out, especially after that first half, you were like, oh, so this is going to be going like the last 3 weeks, wherever, how many games Tampa just got behind and did nothing to actually try to get back in it. It just nothing. A lot of bad play calling. Brady didn't play very well, though. Obviously, like I said earlier, he went 35-66. He barely was over 50%. Through 351, had 2 TDs, and he had the one really bad interception in the back of the end zone that I don't know if he was trying to throw away or he was trying to throw toward what was the receiver was supposed to go, but he did not go. Just a lot of miscommunication, it looked like, and just bad play calling from their OC, and who got fired earlier today. And it's really a good question whether Tom Brady comes back. Personally, I would just retire, but who knows what he'll do. But Dallas just played really well. They're well for the most part. Dak, obviously, 25-33, 305. You can't ask any better of that. And Pollard also had a solid day on the ground with 15 carries, 77 yards. Just ran when he needed to, and he got the yards they needed. And really can't say much about what Dallas is doing. Probably a lot of people have more confidence in Dallas's next game.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone on Tampa Bay played well. I mean, that's full credit to Dallas' defense, forcing them into that much trouble. First, to start with Dallas, I thought that offense looked great. I thought it was very weird, that first, 3 minutes of the game, I think there's 3 punts already. Dallas punted twice, I think it was 4 punts in 5 minutes is what it was. Both teams punted twice. Dallas goes 3 and out twice, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we know what we're doing now. But no, a lot of credit to Dallas. And I'll tell you what, that I can't remember which touchdown it was, but the one where Dak faked the handoff and ran in, that was a phenomenal fake.
The fourth down one.
Yeah, I don't remember which touchdown, which score it was, but
it was the second one.
That fooled me so bad. Like I can't remember if Elliott was on the field or if it was Pollard, but he gets drilled. And I thought they stopped him, and then all of a sudden Dak's walking into the end zone. But no, that was a good play call there from McCarthy. But no, I mean Tampa Bay on their side though. I mean, it looked like it was Tom Brady's first game with some of those guys. Like him and Mike Evans weren't on the same page at all. And to your point, Connor, about the interception in the end zone. Listen, Tom Brady's been playing the game for 20-plus years. I don't think he's throwing that out of the end zone. If he's throwing it out of the end zone, I mean, he knows how to clear that by now. I think he thought Evans was going to cut back, and Evans cut the other way. And then there was another play on an incomplete pass. Evans broke to the right. There's the one where I think it was Godwin maybe was triple covered in the end zone. Yeah, and he got lucky that wasn't picked off, and Evans cut the. I mean, it was again. It looked like they've never played a game together before, and that's credit to Dallas too. I think they just threw him off rhythm, and we talked about it already, but it threw them off their game plan. I mean, you can't tell me they went into this game expecting to throw 60-plus times. I mean, I know he led the league in passing attempts this year, but again, 60-plus times in a playoff game like that where you're home. You got 2 good running backs in Fournette and White. So, credit to them for forcing Tampa Bay out of rhythm and off guard, and that's what you got to do.
Yep. It is. I mean, the story of the game really is the Dallas defense, just able to throw Brady off like you've both mentioned. And it's one of those. It's going to be interesting to see next week when we get the return of a classic matchup. The Niners and the Cowboys, two teams kind of built more on defense this year. So that should be a fun battle when we get to it. But looking back at this week, any other final thoughts, any other interesting things that stand out to you as we get ready to march into the divisionals?
Nah, I mean, I felt bad for Mary, their Dallas' kicker. I mean, I was laughing. I thought it was really funny. The first two, they missed the third. I'm like still laughing a little bit, and then he missed the fourth, and you could just see in his face, like his soul just like left his body. I was like, man, I feel bad for that guy at this point when he misses the fourth, and especially how close he was hitting like the top of the post.
Yep.
Like you might see it hit the right or left upright, but you never see it hit the top of it like that. And I was like, man, poor guy.
Yeah, after the second one, I was like, oh no, it's gonna be this kind of. And then he did it again. I'm like, oh man, I feel bad for this guy because he literally, I think after the third time, he was just like, what is going on? Like he just was so baffled that he just cannot make a PAT.
Yeah, so that's one where it almost becomes just a mind games thing or something like that. You just got to find a way to clear your head and just go out and kick the ball, and eventually, hey, he got one.
After he missed the third, I thought it was gonna be really funny if he somehow wins the game on like a 56-yarder.
Yeah,
just makes up for everything and like.
Well, see, that was the thing I saw a lot of people talked about when it was 24-6. Dallas is on the 4th and 1, and everyone's like, "Oh no, they have to kick a field goal. they have to kick a field goal here." And then they just go for it, and CeeDee Lamb's wide open anyways. But it was an interesting game to be sure. Dallas taking care of business on Monday night, and so we're gonna get some fun playoff matchups. Looking ahead, not gonna go too deep analysis-wise, Adam, but Jacksonville will go to Kansas City, and New York will go to Philadelphia on Saturday. And on Sunday, Cincinnati goes to Buffalo, and Dallas goes to San Francisco. So should be another fun weekend of football.
Ooh, $432.
Yeah. It's one of the classic NFL matchups. So
true. It's just like, wow, it blows. Like the closest to it is 275 with Philly and the Giants. Man, goodness.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun weekend of football. I guess I didn't have a choice, but I'm surprised I put Buffalo, Cincinnati, and Dallas, San Fran on the same day because you probably could argue those are gonna be the two, like on paper, two best games.
Yeah, I think it's one of those just trying to get both one seeds on the same day and both non-one seed games on the other day. But that's how they've stacked it up. But that will do it for tonight's show. As always, we thank you for tuning in, as always, as well. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us here on Twitch, twitch.tv/NWTV7. You'll always know when we go live. So for Andrew Santangelo and Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy, and have a good night, everybody.